Traditions are sacred in the South. The Masters, SEC football, and fried chicken anytime. Now, add one more. Pull up a chair, fix your glass, and get ready for some good old-fashioned Southern charm. Welcome to Success and Sweet Tea, a podcast dedicated to your success in business, lifestyle, and relationships, all with a shot of Southern magic. And now, coming to you from deep in the heart of the Southland, get ready for an engaging conversation with your new favorite Southern couple, Doug and Vicki Miles.
Welcome back to another fantastic episode of Success and Sweet Tea. We are happy you are here. Now we rejoin Doug and Vicki as they continue to learn more about the amazingly talented and successful actress that Emmy Award-winning Carrie Preston calls the great Greta Lambert.
I discovered a great role in myself of teacher. I was able to give back, to show how I did what I did, and just sort of learn how to touch little buttons in other people to make them blossom. And you know, right now they have summer camps going on at ASF, so I'm kind of having a little withdrawal.
I can imagine.
Because those are so fun to watch the kids come in on Monday, shy like I was, and they don't know each other, and by the end of the week they're bosom buddies and doing a play. So I miss that, and it's a great joy to teach.
And you know that some of those children will do that for now and forevermore. Mm-hmm. I mean, you really do get to light a fire in them.
Yes.
And I can only imagine how rewarding that would be.
It's wonderful, but even if they don't become actors, it helps them to think creatively in any job.
Yes.
To work collaboratively, to make presentations, to get over stage fright. So it just has so many values for young people.
You know, one thing that I remember reading about you that was so impressive, and I think none of us will ever forget the year 2020 and all of the things that was happening in the whole world, but in our own worlds, that things that had never happened before. But you had this incredible experience, quite the different twist on A Christmas Carol that year.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
I love adapting texts.
Yes.
I do that with Shakespeare. And Rick Dildine said, what do you think about doing an adaptation of Christmas Carol with one person? And it just started out as a reading that was videotaped. But then the next year, when people started coming back to the theater, it was a one-person show. But it was my adaptation, and I got to play all the parts. But I've done Christmas Carol so many times and watched brilliant Scrooges. My husband, for one.
I was going to say, including your husband.
Yes, Rodney Clark.
Yes.
So I stole so many things from his Ebenezer. But the great thing about stealing from other actors is it's always different when you put it on. You may think you're stealing, but it looks different. It sounds different because it's going through your body. But doing the one-person show was so much fun, knowing that, I don't know, you're sort of in control of the whole experience that people are having. A story that they all know, for one thing. And at the holiday, it's so beautiful to give that story and to bring it to life for people.
Well, you know, your husband, having played that part for so many years, how was he when you got home? What did he have to say to you after your performances were over?
Well, he helped me run lines.
Yes.
So he knew, and of course he saw the production a few times. He was proud.
Oh, I know.
He was proud.
He had to be.
Yeah.
We're very supportive of each other, and he knew I was stealing from him. So I think he was very pleased.
I'm sure he was. It seems, Greta, that you've got the Midas touch, and that whatever you touch seems to succeed and turn to gold. I know that's an old saying, but there's a lot of truth in that. You know, there's some just are able to maneuver better than others in life. I don't know why that is, but it happens. It just happens. People are talented, and people, unfortunately, are not so gifted. Some, but you're on the extremely exceptional end of the talent spectrum, and I know that your husband has to just be glowing, with pride to know how successful you've been, and he's been there to watch every step of it. Basically, it's been a lot of fun for him as a husband to be a part of that,
and to get to do that together. I mean, what a joy, because you're
we
both
did
so
Death
talented.
of a Salesman together.
Oh, wow.
And All My Sons, another play by the same author. So we've done lots of shows together, and I've directed him, and he's directed me. So
Now, that would be interesting.
yes, we didn't know how that was going to be.
I can only imagine.
But it was great. It was great because we respect each other.
Sure.
We respect each other, and we want each other to do well, and we know each other so well, so we know how to give suggestions that sort of make the other person go, oh, yeah, I didn't think of that. That's brilliant.
Yes.
and you leave work at work.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Well, that's a good idea. We should learn to do that, Doug.
I think we can learn from that.
We really could. I'm going to listen to that. You made a statement, though, and it's resonated with me. During those COVID experiences and the pandemic year, the theater changed, almost had to go into hiding for a little period of time. Talk a little bit about that and what it's like on the other side now of the pandemic.
It was hard because I think people were afraid
Yes.
to come together. And so they got used to not coming together. They got used to doing other things with their money,
Yes.
with their time. So it was very difficult to get people to come back. Once they did, they were glad they were back and wanted more. But it was interesting that it took so long. And I think theaters everywhere are still going through that process of getting people to come back.
I really don't doubt that. It's just taken all of us such a long time to get back into the swing of several things. And you make a great point. When you get used to doing something else, you just fail to go back to some of the things that you used to do.
Right.
But what a homecoming moment, for lack of a better term, when you can get to come back and see it all. I think another thing that bothers me too is that we don't see as much theater in our schools as we used to see. And I wondered if you might comment on, has that had any impact in maybe new stars coming out to experience the theater, develop that talent, that you had someone that mentored you and brought you to that point?
Well, for a long time we had an intern program and then a fellowship program at ASF. And they don't have that right now. It's expensive, and it's unfortunate that it's not there because it's such an important part of theater for those of us who are a little further along,
Right.
to give back and to bring
Yes.
folks, bring young folks up.
Yeah, it just sounds sad that we don't have more opportunities to do that.
Yes. And I'm telling you, those, I must have directed 9 tours that went into schools with my adaptations, take Shakespeare and gut the poor man until it's about an hour, 10 minutes, and combine characters, so there's only 8 actors playing multiple roles. But when they go into schools, they're rock stars because kids are looking at kids.
Right.
They're looking at people who are just that little bit older than they are, and it's like being at a rock concert. It's so beautiful to see what young people giving to younger people
Right.
can do.
Yeah, that spirit of giving is it's not something that we develop just as an adult.
Yeah.
That's kind of a thing that that takes up with us, actually.
Right. But any kind of success, just demands that you give back.
Yes.
I think that's one thing that keeps us all going. We just want to give back for anything that we might have achieved or accomplished. It's our turn to help someone else get to that point. And I know you got to see that with those young children and those interns that you were able to work with, and what an incredible opportunity that must have been. So if someone wanted someone younger, maybe, I don't know, in middle school, grammar school, any age, how would you encourage them to develop their talent? Where would they go? What would they do? We don't have a lot of theater in schools anymore. How would they get started?
We don't, but in our community, there are a lot of shows with just kids. Right now, the Cloverdale Playhouse is doing The Little Princess. The cast is entirely made up of students. Summer camps, classes at ASF, at the Wetumpka Depot, at the Cloverdale Playhouse, they all have classes. And I think this year ASF is doing Christmas Carol again, and they will use young people in the plays. You know, they double cast all the kids. So there's their opportunity to audition, come out to auditions, check the website, see when auditions are happening, and just do it as much as you possibly can. If your school doesn't have it, there are lots of opportunities.
That's such a good point to make, to encourage parents to get involved in that with their children. And theater is often a family experience anyway.
Yeah.
We had a little bit of that in our family, and certainly it was a commitment to the entire family. Someone's going to be in a production, and everyone has to make an adjustment and a commitment. So I think it's great family
and look
time
at all
as
the
well.
tickets you sell.
You were so right.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly right. I kind of want to backstep a little bit,
Sure.
if we could, whenever to the time whenever you first came to Montgomery, and you were in the new Shakespeare Festival Theater, and you heard all of that applause, and you heard all the emotion outside the curtain, and you were standing there. First of all, what production was that you played in then?
That was A Midsummer Night's Dream.
And your character was?
Titania, the Fairy Queen.
The Fairy Queen.
Yes.
You spoke about that earlier, and you
Yes.
talked to us about how that feeling is. But there's something about being behind stage, or behind the curtain, and being on stage. Just the anticipation, the audience coming in, filing in, all the hubbub around what's going on back there, and then it's time for everybody for places. And then the countdown for the curtain, and then the curtain pulls, and then just that feeling immediately when that curtain rises, and that adrenaline just pops you like a slap in the face, doesn't it?
It
Well,
really
is
does.
adrenaline or fear? I'd have to know the difference in the two.
A little of both. A little of both. I mean, there's always stage fright. Always, no matter how old you get. But also excitement.
It's just fun, isn't it? I mean,
It's fun.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's anticipation because you've been in rehearsal. You know what's funny. You know what's inspiring, what's beautiful, what's, moved you to tears. So you know what they're about to experience. And you know that they're seeing it for the first time. So there's that excitement, again, of giving.
Yes. Yes.
And the fact that it was in my backyard practically
Right.
was the most beautiful experience I think I've ever had.
And then, do you remember a character, Prospero?
Oh, yes.
Tell us a little bit about Prospero.
Well, the funny thing is that the gentleman who played the King of Fairies, Oberon, his name is Philip Pleasance. Maybe it was 3 years later, we did The Tempest. I played his daughter. And then just this past year, I got to play Prospero.
That was your swan song.
That was my swan song, yes. I got to play Prospero. And my daughter was one of our former interns. And I knew it had to be my swan song when Rick Dildine offered me the role, because Prospero has a speech that some scholars say was Shakespeare's farewell to the globe. And I thought,
This is
perfect. It's a perfect way to go out.
Yes.
But Philip Pleasance was so fabulous as Prospero, and I would sit at, he tells a long story, and Miranda, sits at Prospero's feet and just listens. So I would hear him and remember that feeling. And it's funny, my husband said, I like Prospero being played by a woman better. There was just something about that relationship of mother-daughter instead of father-daughter.
Right.
And that because Prospero has been banished from the kingdom that Prospero came from, it's a woman getting kicked out by all the men. So it just gave the whole story a different kind of feeling, and the love that I had for that young actor who played Miranda.
Right.
It was just so easy. But it was a beautiful experience, and there wasn't a night that I didn't, have to
I'm sure.
blink
I was
back
just
the
thinking,
tears.
how did you hold back the tears knowing that
It
was
was-
your swan song?
It was hard.
And then you played Miranda one year in one
Yes.
production, didn't you?
Yes, that was with Philip.
Yeah.
But in a way, the tears were part of the performance, because that's how Prospero felt too.
Yes. Yes.
So, but it was a great experience.
I don't know how you can speak about things like that without getting emotional. I guess I'm getting too old, and when I think about things like that, I get a big lump in my throat.
So now that you have retired, of course, we know you're not going to give up acting, and you'll still do that. But any thoughts about what your new plan is? Or are you just sort of figuring it out day by day, or great things on the horizon for you?
I'm sort of waiting for life to knock on the door or send me a text and say, here's what's next.
Yes.
I'm an amateur gardener,
Yes.
so I do have my garden that I love and find a great deal of peace. And it's very creative, too, if you think of it. It's like painting with foliage.
Yes, that's true.
And I learned a lot from Karen, who is the gardener out at ASF.
Well, you did have a lovely model. I hadn't
Oh,
put all
yes.
that together. Yes.
That's right. But what I'm going to do, I don't know. I was so tired and ready for a vacation that I'm still sort of in vacation mode. But I think pretty soon I'll have to start thinking about, so what am I going to do?
Well, we know acting is still right there waiting on you whenever you get ready.
Yes.
And there's no small amount of parts waiting for a person like you, an actress with your abilities to show their face and express their desire.
So any role you didn't get to play that you still would like to play?
Well, I have been so lucky
You really have.
to play the most amazing roles
Yes.
in my career. And as you get older, there aren't really that many. There is a play called Road to Mecca that I did as a younger me at ASF with a woman named Betty Layton, who was maybe 65 at the time. And so I'd like to do that play
Yes.
and play her part. But there aren't too many of those left.
Oh, I bet you'll just.
I hear adaptation coming.
I hear adaptation. I hear all
there you
kinds
go.
of things. Yes. If she can do all the way to age 70, she can do lots of things.
So I think Driving Miss Daisy began at age 70.
There's always another Driving Miss Daisy.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's so true.
That's right.
That's so true. Well, it just sounds like so much fun. I think what impressed us the most when we were discovering all these incredible things about you is really it is where you started. You had your southern roots, and then you went one direction only to be led back to this direction. I believe you said your husband has Alabama roots as well, right?
Yes, he's from Anniston.
And so how did the two of you meet?
We met in St. Louis doing a play about Alabama, To Kill a
It
Mockingbird.
was in
Yeah.
the cards for you to come back.
It was meant to be.
Absolutely.
We met in St. Louis. He was Boo Radley and Mr. Gilmer, the prosecutor, and I was Jean Louise, who narrates the play. And we just fell in love.
Ah, that's wonderful.
And he
Yeah.
followed me back to Montgomery and auditioned
Yes.
and became part of the
So
company.
you had to both go to St. Louis to meet each other to come back to Alabama.
Alabama. Yes.
all
that's
roads
right.
lead to Alabama.
That's right.
Even the ones that carry us to D.C.
True.
and that carry us to New York
Yes.
and
Well,
bring us back home.
I think the other thing that really impressed me, especially when you talked about all the places that you've been, and Doug, you'll certainly understand where my heart is when I say this, but what courage it takes to do those things. And we feel like we might have missed a few opportunities when we were younger because we didn't have that courage to just pack up and move, go do something. Where did you get that courage to do that?
I don't know. I don't know. It was just a dream to go, when you're a small town girl, to go to the big city. And I loved conquering New York. I don't ever want to live there again. But I loved conquering it so
Yes.
that I knew where everything was. I'm a big shopper. So I could tell you where to find anything.
Right.
Well, you and I are going to New York.
Okay. And people would come to visit, and I could take them places. And I learned how to get around. One time I went to Paris by myself and managed to get on subways and find my way around in Paris. I think it's just, I don't know. I didn't think of it as courage. I just thought of it as an adventure, I think.
Well, we've encouraged our kids because we weren't directed in that way, because we were from small town, really small town, and we did let a few things go. Opportunities came our way that we just said, well, it's maybe a little bit too far away, but we have encouraged our children always to never let distance bother you. There's always a plane ticket.
Yeah.
And I can be there in a day. And but now both of our children are not too far away from us, and we enjoy that. But we would never even still hold them back. If they wanted to go to wherever in the life carried them, then we would support that.
It's a great way to. It's an accomplishment.
It is, and I think that's where my heart is, to encourage others to find success wherever that is, and don't let anything hold you back if you wanted to go. Saying that from someone who didn't have the courage to do it, when you said go to D.C., if there's one dream that we talk about often, we would have loved to have gone to D.C. in our 20s. What an incredible city. We think we would have just adapted and loved it and enjoyed it, but we didn't go. So I love the fact that you did go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think by going and conquering the big cities, I think that's what led me back here. And it let me know I'm not settling. I'm coming back where I want to be.
Yes.
This is my home. This is my life. And this is success.
I love that.
It's not somebody else's success, but it is mine. I never would have played those amazing roles, and that's what's been my gift.
And it's been amazing for Vicki and I as we've been on this journey with this podcast and with Success and Sweet Tea, these interviews, that there are so many definitions of success. No, it's when people say, well, is he successful? Well, the first thing that pops in your mind is, is he rich? So we got a lot of money.
Right.
That's just a measure. That doesn't mean everything. And I've seen it and I've talked to so many people, and we have interviewed so many people that it is a success for certain, sure.
It's a marker for
It's
some,
a,
yes.
but there are so many other. You've got success in the spiritual world. You got success in the acting world. You've got there's so many different forms of success, and that seems to be as individual as we all are.
Yes, Rodney and I look at each other sometimes and say, we are rich
Yes.
because we have a home, we have our little children, a dog and 2 cats.
Yes, yes.
We have our life that we've made, and that's
Doing
success.
something that you loved and doing it together.
Yes.
I don't think life gets any more successful than
That's
that.
right.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then the gift that you got to give all those 100 performances, people wanted to be there and they enjoyed their time there. I think that's another measure of success, giving joy to others. And we just thank you for sharing your journey with us. You've given us joy, and we have enjoyed hearing all about your
Well,
success.
thank you. It's been an honor. Thank you.
It's our pleasure.
We're the winners
Yeah,
today,
yeah.
and everyone that takes the time to listen and watch is going to be the winner as well, because you're worth a listen.
Absolutely.
I guarantee you that.
Absolutely.
You're worth a listen.
Okay, now I'm going to cry.
No, we are just, we can't wait to see what you're going to do next. And we'll be on the front row when you do your next performance at the Alabama
Okay,
Shakespeare
that's a
Festival.
deal.
Yeah.
So, well, I don't know. Do they let people like us sit on the front row? Well, second or third, maybe.
Oh, they'll let you sit anywhere you want to sit.
But we'll be there. We'll be there.
But we do appreciate so much you taking time out of your schedule and spending the time with us. It's been wonderful.